In today's episode of the ReCoop, I'm talking to Nathan Kaiser. He is the managing director at AlgoDAO. That's a launchpad incubator built on the Algorand blockchain. But before we get into it, let's talk about the sponsor of the show, Headline Inc. Headline has been a longtime sponsor, and man, are you guys paying attention? Somebody told Headline that it's a bear market, and they're like, what? We don't care. We're going to build. And look what they're doing. They are acquiring different protocols. They picked up Algo Trade, which is going to be a great support for Algo Cloud, Algo Options or Algo Options. Algo Options. I don't know how to pronounce it. Algo Options. Be an options marketplace, which will fit perfectly into their decks and all of the many, many things that Headline is building. So look, if Algorand needs it, Headline is building it, and I enjoy having them as a sponsor of the show. So without further ado, let's do it. Nathan Kaiser from AlgoDAO. Hey everybody, welcome to the ReCoop. I'm Cooper Daniels, and I'm a guy that knows a little about a lot. And today I am here with Nathan Kaiser. He is the managing director at AlgoDAO, a launchpad built on the Algorand blockchain. How you doing, Nathan?
I'm good. Thanks a lot. How are you, Cooper?
I'm doing fantastic. Look, this is the second time you've been on the show. So I think, what was it, a couple months ago, probably 3 months ago, you and Bakit came on. Was it even, maybe it was longer? Time's going.
I think it was shorter, but it feels much longer. Let's put it that way.
Well, there's been a lot that's happened, and you guys had your IDO recently. But, you know, everybody should go check out that interview if you don't know a lot about AlgoDAO. But today we'll probably get a little more in the weeds about tokenomics and everything that's going on, you know, currently out there, you know, FUD and not FUD, whatever it is. But for anybody out there, real quick, maybe can you just break down what it is AlgoDAO is seeking to do and actually doing right now?
Absolutely. And it's great to be back on the show. I have to say that. Yeah, it's great to be back. Thanks. So the elevator pitch goes like this. We're a launchpad on and for Algorand. That's the first sentence now. And we have probably two bells and whistles added. One is that we're also providing incubating services, which basically means before something or a project launches on AlgoDAO, we want to make sure that it launches well and that it's ready to launch. So incubating services or incubator services, we use that term to say getting a project from not being ready to being ready. And when I say we, it's actually not necessarily the AlgoDAO itself. It can be other companies, other services, other service providers, individuals, and will help the project to team up with other parties in order to get them ready. The second bell and whistle in that sense is the Sigma pool. And what that is, it's basically a sort of a fund-like structure or a pool where every project that launches on AlgoDAO needs to provide a bit of their token supply to the pool. And that pool has its own token that represents that pool or fund. And that makes it that the pool essentially will represent a sort of ecosystem like ETF. No, it will represent a pool of Algorand-based projects. And so incubating services, the launchpad, properly speaking, and then the Sigma pool. And that's what we're about to do.
Yeah, and the Sigma pool is pretty cool in the sense that if you're staking ADAO token right now, you're earning Sigma, which is also earning you a portion of the future project. So if AlgoDAO is successful, that Sigma pool is just going to get more and more valuable, is the idea, correct?
Absolutely. We have these two tokens, two token system. And as you correctly put it, if you stake the AlgoDAO token, the main token, or the project token, your staking reward is then the Sigma pool token. Absolutely. I think it's not just if the launchpad is successful, but also if Algorand as a overall ecosystem and protocol is successful, the Sigma pool token will be worth more. Yep.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, not to mention that I think that Algorand Foundation and Borderless Capital, obviously two giants in the ecosystem. I mean, the foundation for, you know, but like, so, and they're behind the project too, aren't they?
Absolutely. We have some good backers, and as we all know, you need backers in order to get something from zero to launch. And with launch, I mean our proper launch.
Mm-hmm.
And we're happy to have Borderless and the foundation and others to back us at that early stage back then. Yep.
Yep. Okay. So recently, you've had a lot going on. I can only imagine that there's just been a lot going on. And you had your IDO. So the first project launched on AlgoDAO was AlgoDAO, right? I mean, that's basically what just happened.
Absolutely, and there is a thought process behind this. By the way, I think last time we had our interview, I said I wanted to hang out a picture in the back, which I obviously didn't have time to get around to do. But hey, a lot has happened. It was a busy couple weeks.
Well, you got the window back there, and I can hear the birds chirping, so it's very soothing. I like it. Yeah.
Is that okay? I can close the window.
No, it's great.
The audience gets confused or something.
Distracted by the tweeting. No. Yeah. Okay. So what were we saying? We were saying
well, for the launch, our proper launch, what happens is that, and we'll probably get to the tokenomics and the token supply with regard to the community and that community exposure. We'll get to that. Mm-hmm. What we wanted to do is we wanted to do a launch because it makes sense that you need to launch something first before you tell others that you're technically ready to launch. And instead of taking somebody else as a technical guinea pig, we simply said we should probably launch our own token first in order to demonstrate that technical readiness level. And that's what we did. That's why we had a launch. Yeah.
Yeah. And you did it really, I mean, it was a really cool way. You had NFTs that you could purchase, correct? And that would give you an allocation of the token, right? And
that was a side gimmick, let's put it that way. But we did have that. You're right. Yeah, absolutely.
But anybody could have bought that one of those NFTs, right? There was no limits to like what region you were from or whatever. Anybody was able to purchase those NFTs, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I'd say. Yeah.
I mean, so that's pretty. I mean, that's cool. That allow. I'm based in the States, so that gives that gave an opportunity that not all IDOs offer. And then okay, so there's the major thing here that I'm hearing on Reddit and Discord and Twitter, and everyone's like, okay, like what's going on, man? I was excited about a launch pad. I was excited about a launch pad, and now I have to look at 1% to retail. Like, what's going on? Like, you guys. So is this all? So the big accusation, right? So we're just going to cut to the chase. 7 minutes into the interview, the big accusation is that AlgoDAO is just a money printer for whales, and it's going to dump on retail. So how do you respond to that accusation?
Well, it's probably going to take longer than 10 seconds. No. So first of all, I think we miscommunicated or people misunderstood it, maybe both, when we said community driven. Community driven is meant as an ultimate goal, but there's a timeline or a roadmap from where it's not community driven because somebody has to build it before the community can come in, until at the end of a timeline, it is then community driven and community owned. And I think maybe in your interview or somewhere else, I had stated that timeline is roughly 3 years. That's what we think. So 3 years after the launch, the AlgoDAO should by then be community driven and community owned. But now we're not at the end of the 3 years. We're at the beginning of the 3 years. So the community owned part starts first with 0%. That's the logical part, because how projects are done and launched are by a couple of guys in a bar that sit together, or guys and girls, actually also in our case, and say, hey, we should do A, and then other people in the bar say, that's a good idea, let's do A. And at that point, it's team driven. It is then also backed by single people who say, we'll support A. And that's not yet the retail community in that sense, but that's how you start you probably would start a bakery or a bar in that way. And so we started 0%, and at our launch, we started to give out less than 1% actually to be fair. and that's very little. And then slowly over time, the token supply will seep out and will go out and be spread out. And so there's a timeline where the community-owned part will simply increase and not decrease over time. So now I spoke a little bit. I don't want to interrupt, or if I keep talking.
No, no. Well, I was listening. So, okay. So what you're saying is like, well, of course, like in the beginning of every project, it starts with a few people, and then you start to, then now I mean, obviously AlgoDAO has a venture capital focus. I think the theory is, and maybe you can tell me, but the theory is that for serious projects to be launched, there needs to be VCs behind it, right? I mean,
you need some money. You need some money. You need to pay the guys and girls who built the thing before it's finished being built. No, it's like somebody needs to pay them, because people have to pay invoices and bills and rent and all that. And so from the inception of a product or a project in that bar, you need to spend money, and that money needs to come from somebody. And that's what VCs do, as it's venture capital. They provide capital to ventures who may work out and may not work out. I think one important thing is really because that sort of, what do you call it, the venture dump or whatever you call it?
The whale. Oh, the whale
and venture. Yeah, exactly. We have very long vesting periods. We really have, and that's actually also due to feedback that we got early on from VCs. We had originally proposed 24 months, which is best practice. And actually now the team tokens have a vesting period of, if you remember, now I think it's still online, the deck is still online. We have vesting period that's actually 36 months. So that's 3 years. That's longer than best practice. No, you'll have to go far to find projects that have a 36 month vesting schedule. And that's exactly because we wanted to avoid what now has been said in Discord by the few, not by the many, but by the few, which is, oh, this is pump and dump. No, it ain't. No, it ain't.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No. And so, is it public knowledge? How much did the early backers pay for the ADAO token? Do we know that? What the number is?
Cooper, maybe I can say that to the audience before we started this. I said to Cooper, I don't have an answer to every question. And here, I actually don't know if it's known or not. So, yeah.
Right. So you're going to,
But maybe also to make it easy, and I'm stating the obvious, but it's worth saying that is that the earlier you back a venture or a project, the more risky it is, because it has less fixed things and known things or known knowns. The earlier it is, the more unknowns it has, and the more risky it is. It can go south because it has more time to go south. And the later you get into a company, the higher the price is, because that's how it goes. And I think you can take Tesla as an example, or your local bakery shop, or any token project, or really anything. The later you come, the more security you have, the less risk you have, and the higher the prices you pay.
Right. Well, and then also right now, I mean, look, I'm in agreement with you, because, for example, if you buy into the token now, you have some pretty aggressive yield that you can be earning. I mean, I looked yesterday, and I think the yield to stake ADAO is something in the 1,000% to receive SIGMA token. So there is still, there's still risk, obviously, but there is an opportunity for you to go to Pact, get some ADAO, and then am I saying that? Is that how you guys are calling it, ADAO, right? ADAO. That's the token.
You know what? We're totally unclear on this, like unclear on our own token pronunciation.
Because it could be a DAO. It could be is it a DAO,
ADAO? I say ADAO.
ADAO. Yeah. Okay. But so
there is the listing abbreviation is ADAOX now, which is completely unpronounceable, like utterly.
So okay, I actually want to ask a couple of things. I probably would have talked about this in the beginning, but you mentioned it, and it sounds, I think, if nobody maybe there's people out there that don't know who you are. And you are somebody that has been in the crypto industry for a while now. You were if I'm remembering correctly from our last conversation, the chair of the Cardano Foundation, right? For a while.
I actually used the term chairperson because I was kind of fed up with the whole chairman thing. So I called myself always the chairperson. Because I always said, it might be a woman that follows me. And guess what? It was a woman that became the next chairperson after me.
Oh, so there we go.
Right.
So you set a nice precedent for her to enter into. Does she call herself the chairwoman? Maybe, I don't know. We don't need to talk about that.
I don't even know.
I don't know. But I mean, so what is it? Well, first, I think that everybody would like to know. Well, what made you leave Cardano and make your way over to Algorand? I think that's a question that people are out there wondering.
Yeah, fair enough. Absolutely. So there's maybe the first part of an answer is that I did not go straight from the Cardano Foundation to Algorand. So that was a bit, looking back, people think, oh, that's very straight and simple, but it wasn't that simple. What happened was that I was involved in the whole Cardano ecosystem for a long time. And again, it's crypto, so it felt 7 times longer than it was, and it was long. And so I had the feeling I had to move on, and people grow apart. Projects and people grow apart in many different ways. So so that was it. And then I left Cardano. I then took up a stint, I call it, for about a year plus at the Swiss Stock Exchange, who operated had a subsidiary that was had the aspiration to be a crypto-based stock exchange. And after a year or a bit less, I realized that maybe the whole centralized exchange thing and the whole traditional finance TradFi approach was not for me. I was already way too far into the DeFi space, and trying to get back into TradFi was, it was maybe ambitious, maybe it was naive, but I didn't make it. So I thought the centralized approach is not for me. And then I was looking out for something, again, more decentralized, and Algorand. I knew the guys, a couple of guys from Algorand back from the time when I was living in Boston. And we had back when I was at Cardano, we had a friendly relationship as friendly competitors. And they tolerated me and I tolerated them, and we actually got along well. So, I called up the guys and was like, yeah, okay, Algorand, how's the ecosystem going? And at the same time, I had some people, some key people from the team now that's behind, or the several teams really that are behind and around at the AlgoDAO, which I knew from before. And they were like, you know what, we should be building a launchpad on Algorand. I was like, yep, it seems like they don't have one. It might need one, or it actually does need one. And that's the guys in the bar, that sort of got together. It wasn't like a real physical bar. It was more like a virtual bar.
I was going to say, it sounds like I need to go to the bar with you. This is like, it sounds like where you want to be with Nathan is at the bar. What's your drink of choice?
I like that Moscow Mule. I think there was some sort of Netflix series that pushed that. And my wife was like, you gotta start drinking Moscow Mules. But I'm a big coffee drinker. I only, it's not always 5 o'clock somewhere. Kind of is.
I mean, sometimes. I mean, yeah, I'm basically 90% coffee, 5% water, and then everything else. So, all right. So, I mean, that's cool. And then you also had mentioned is guys and girls in your case. And I did ask Discord, if they had any questions. And a question that did come up a couple of times is they want to know more about who the president of the AlgoDAO Foundation, Diana Munoz, right? Who is she?
You're right. Actually, that's on my to-do list, and thanks, Cooper, for reminding me to respond to that on Discord. But now I'm going to do it here. I probably still have to do it on Discord. So what we were sort of like advised by legal and also by our VCs is to use a Panama setup for a sort of the legal wrapper. It's called a wrapper for the DAO. And that's what we did. And in Panama, you need to have a local resident who is in charge of the legal wrapper and the corporate responsibility. And so that's the person that we chose and that we proposed. So we don't have a picture because it's not. We think it's not in that sense a person that's relevant for the community. They don't need to see her face,
Right.
and I think that's a personal decision. If the question come up, is she doxed or not? Well, she is, no, because she's there with her name and with the filings and all that. So I think the answer is unspectacular. It's the person that's locally responsible, and it's fairly boring answer, really. I will still add this on Discord because I owe this to the community. I've been too busy.
I will say that while the answer is unspectacular, it is very honest. So I don't think anybody has I can't imagine somebody has a qualm with that answer. Okay, so now let's talk about some good stuff today. You recently I think it was yesterday, launched on MEXC. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you also have your first project or your second project being launched on AlgoDAO. It's called Brightside. It's a layer 2. So tell me about Brightside.
Cooper, I like how you called it the second project, the first having been AlgoDAO itself. I spotted that one. Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
You're right. So the next project that we're going to launch is going to be Brightside. Mm-hmm. We have a funnel or a pipeline of projects, and we've probably been looking at 40 plus projects. And obviously many of the projects, the Algorand space is young and that's normal, are not yet ready or for one reason or the other, or are not appropriately set up to be launched on AlgoDAO. So things fall through, or projects fall through that filter, and that's also what we promised the community, that we do our due diligence. And so out of 40 plus or 50 projects that we looked at, our pipeline for the next couple of months probably has 8, 9, 10 projects at this moment, and this might increase. And Brightside Finance is the next one. I'm not a specialist on doing the pitch for Brightside Finance, so I'm not going to do that pitch. Yeah. It's also too early. It's also not really my job because we're providing a launchpad functionality, but we're not. I'm not the pitcher, or I'm not here.
You're not
to push my.
You're not.
It's not my job.
You're not trying to say. I mean, from the little that I know about Brightside, it looks like it's a layer 2 that is looking to build on a couple of different non-EVM chains. Is that correct?
I think they also do EVM compatible chains.
Yeah.
So they're not just non-EVM compatible chains, but also EVM compatible chains. So they have high ambitions. There's the DEX integrated and all that. It's the good guys. Yeah. It's also a bunch of Europeans. It's also distributed teams, and but I think they will pull this off, and that's also why we chose to launch them. Launch date is by far not set. Also, we should probably talk about the current market situation.
That's exactly where I was headed. I was like, how have I not? I was like, how have I not mentioned that you guys had to launch in the worst bear market in a lot, since whatever, it's been at least a few years. And so now you're a launch pad launching into a lot of there's a bear market. No need to put anything extra on
Call it pain. No,
that's what I was going to say.
Call it pain. Yeah.
You're launching into pain, and people are like gripping onto their money. Like, I don't know what to do. And that's why you get a lot of these. I mean, there's a couple of reasons. We're in a bear market, so that's why people are complaining. And then also, I think some of it is, maybe coordinated by competitors. Who knows? I think, there's crypto, maybe fudsters get out there and they start to attack things that they see as a competitor.
I don't think so, by the way. I don't think so. It's not. No, it's not. I don't think there's any malice in that sense. It's that people are generally scared, and some people are more scared, and some people are more vocal than others, and some people are more scared than others. And then you do end up with a few very scared, very vocal people who, I think that's what happens. It's life, and it's human beings. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and and I also know that people are when they think of cryptocurrency, they want an equal playing field, because everybody feels like traditional finance doesn't give you an equal playing field. So the idea that you know, VCs and whales get a bigger advantage, it starts to make people feel like, this is just the same old shit, you know, basically, part of my French. But
no, you're right. I don't know if you had the time. I think it came out 3 days ago. There's this on YouTube on Bankless. There's this interview with what's his name, Andres, and it's a very and Dixon, 2A16Z guys. Very good interview. You should totally watch this. You should totally push this through your channel. Yeah, competing podcast. Yeah.
Well, I like no, I do. I enjoy Bankless. I haven't listened to this one, but I'll go on a hike later today, and I'll put it on my you know, I'll put it on my thing.
Because they actually talk about this, and they put it in much better words than I could, is that people, you're totally right, the crypto people, and I'm one of them, and you're one of them, and the audience is part of that. We have these ambitions and these hopes, and then these hopes that differentiate the crypto world from the normal or old world. And at the same time, it's true that the hopes are ambitious as such, and then you can't just go from X to something completely different within a year or so. There is human beings and also ventures and projects have organizational needs where you actually need to structure how you build something, and then you need to come in with people who have a higher risk appetite early on, and that's venture capital by definition. And the single retail person will be exactly the wrong person to kickstart something at the very early stage, because they don't have that risk appetite, because they're scared, because smaller sums represent a bigger part of what they own. And so that's why maybe at least part of what we call venture capital or normal finance are actually just expression of different risk appetites of different setups. And that's just the way it is. It's not a bad thing. And then some things will change, but the entire space and single projects and so on will need time to slowly go from a stage to a different stage. It's nothing is fast and immediate. It can't be. People are not that fast, and human life is not that fast.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And so you have a partnership also with Pact, right? There's incentive to provide liquidity on Pact. What else? Oh, there's a couple other things here. So there's also a charge, if you unstake, you get charged. Tell us about the charge.
Yeah. I mean, this is it's a good subject or good topic, and it's also a bad one at the same time. Basically, what we wanted to introduce is it's like a brake in the car. No, we wanted to introduce an economic incentive for people to not unstake too quickly, and we chose that specific charge. And then there have been rightly questions and demands and requests of not having it in the first place. Why is it there? Because we want to slow down, like a car. No? You need a brake to slow down a car. You need an incentive to make people less quickly unstake, because we didn't want to have that fast pump and dump that people actually don't want themselves. And also it's like a market break. It breaks, or it slows down the speed of market, because what we've seen in stocks and in crypto is the more the velocity you have in these markets, and the less friction you have, and they're literally built to, all these markets are built to reduce friction, then the higher the up and downs are, which is something that in the end nobody again wants. Nobody wants to have the quick ups and the quick downs. That's why I call it pump and dump, which nobody wants. And so the idea is to introduce, very consciously introduce friction to the ups and downs. That's basically what it is. Then there were questions about why is it a non-stake fee and not a stake fee? Great question. and we've discussed this at length internally. It was discussed at length on Discord and maybe Reddit. It's actually, economically speaking, it doesn't matter where it is, whether it's on that end or on that end. It might be a psychological difference, but we couldn't make up our minds whether psychologically it's not better to have it at the front or at the end. Once you pay as an entry ticket, and once you pay as an exit ticket, what surely is the case is that if you have 100 and you stake for a long time, you have it at the end result of your staking, which of course by then you will have staked a lot more. But if you cut it off as an entrance ticket, you'll be only able to stake 95, for example, if it's 5%, or 94 if it's 6%. Right. So if you do it at the entrance, you'll end up, you give 100, you pay 6, and then you have 94 to stake. While if you give in 100, you have 100 to stake over a long time, and then you'll cut off 6%. So there's pros and cons, no? And then another big maybe misunderstanding or miscommunication for our side, or both, was this is not something that's going to be there forever. It will, we wanted to have it at the beginning, now define the beginning, for a certain period that is undetermined, because we don't know yet how the market will go. And it's, as you can see, from introducing or even mentally having the concept of an unstaking fee to actually launching, where the market crash that, you know, went like this, which shows that you do stuff and you know that you don't know what the future brings. And that's exactly how we see the unstaking fee as. We have it at the beginning, we have it today, and we will reduce it, or it will go away at a certain point of time. I don't know yet, because we don't know yet how the market goes. We don't know yet. Maybe we don't need it anymore. But when? I don't know. So let's see. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. And it you know, you don't want to. I wouldn't, as you know, if I were working for AlgoDAO, I wouldn't want to put a barrier to staking. You know, the barrier should be to exit. I mean, it just makes sense. And I think that's a good point that you make. You're staking your full amount the whole time, so you're earning a little bit extra the whole time. So then that also pads your exit if that's what you choose to do. I mean, to me, that seems, I don't know.
And again, no, with the long-term view that we will remove or reduce or both over time, the unstaking fee, it makes more sense to incentivize. It's an incentive system, people to first stake and then wait. And if they wait enough and things go the way it should be going, that fee will be reduced. And then the longer you wait, the longer you stake, the longer you, in that sense, also have a commitment to the project, the smaller your unstaking fee will be. I think that makes total sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that if you had a staking fee to enter, I think you would have a lot more people being like, what? That's a bad idea. Why are you doing that?
It'd be weird. Seriously. Like, it would be a fee to be able to stake that. I think that truly makes no sense.
It does not make a lot of sense. So, okay. So let's just recap real quick. So people maybe some of the things we talked about, what they can do. So right now you can buy AlgoDAO or ADAO on Pact or MEXC now, and you can stake on the AlgoDAO app, and you can earn Sigma in return. Right? These are the opportunities. There is a these are the things that you can do. And you know, we didn't really talk about the hierarchy. There's a very interesting hierarchy with AlgoDAO. Like, I think it's like you're part of the federation, and then you become a high council and a vanguard. I don't know that we need to talk much about that, but is there anything that we should know? Like, how do you climb the ranks here? You own more and more. Is that how that happens? How that works? I'm sure.
Right. So it actually goes a bit back to what was also mentioned in that Bankless video. I'm really shilling that Bankless video. You can tell.
Who were the guests? Do you know these people? Do they? Who?
No,
were the guests
I'm not paid. I'm
You're not paid by
paid.
Bakeless? Okay, okay.
No. But what's true is that they were talking about governance, no, and governance in crypto, governance in projects, and governance in DAO. And the topic you're referring to is really DAO governance. And so there's a couple. Let's talk about it. I think it's a good topic. A very difficult topic is, first of all, we don't have that many successful projects that show how it can be done. So in a way, DAOs start, it's very early days. No, we have no tools on Algorand. Like there's no DAO tools, zilch. No, it's like we have projects, some of whom we know and work with that are building tools, but it's just really early days.
Yeah.
So we don't have tools, we don't have blueprints, we don't have plans, we don't have governance models. And so what one does is that you go back 2,000 years back to the Greeks, no, when they started to sort of, hey, let's just not hit each other over the head, but let's have a voting system. And then the Greeks started, having voting systems and democracy. And then we've been trying out different models of democracy and some more and some less successful. And no single system has turned out to be successful because systems need to change for different circumstances and projects and size of people and size of projects, size of countries, or even, you can have a club. You can have whatever club you have, like what do you call it, bowling club. And then we'll have a different governance system than if you run like a 20,000 people company. So governance doesn't have a one-size-fits-all model. And we've talked about quadratic equations by Vitalik and so on. And what we're doing is we're doing a first blueprint. I should have gotten that water when we started.
I know, I told you could.
You did ask, yeah. We're doing a first blueprint that we're giving out, and then things will adapt and have to be adapted, and there will be community feedback. There has been community feedback, and we'll take it from there. And it's not the last answer, it's not the final answer. So the different tiers really represent that idea of how do we have sort of a structure where people who have a greater commitment, have a greater say. And it does get into, Bankless video again, it does get into the question of, do we have a one person, one vote kind of system, which is a great system, which is how democracies run largely or should be running. And then more capital means more vote or more voting power, which is how companies are run. And it's also true in crypto, and I'm stating the obvious, that everybody can make up several wallets. So the one person, one vote in crypto is just quadratic equations being a great idea. It's just not something that really, really works so easily because it can be gamed much too easily. Yeah. So yeah, Cooper, we don't have the answers. We're just putting out a first initial plan, knowing that it will have to change over time. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're watching that happen with the Algorand governance as we speak. We're the one person, there's a debate happening right now, one algo, one vote, or do we give DeFi protocols an outsized vote? And, that's the debate happening. Everybody's trying to figure this thing out. And DAOs, I've been to a couple of these conferences this year, and, the year of the DAO, everybody's talking about the year of the DAO. And then now everyone's talking about the year of everybody watching their money disappear, but or not. I know there's people that trade very, very successfully. Okay, and so just to address the main reason here. So there is 1% went to the IDO, right? So what was that? 1 million, right? I think it's there's 100 million.
It was a bit less. It was less. Yeah,
it was a little less than that. Okay. And then there was also a tweet today about a burn. There was like a quarter of a million tokens burned. You had mentioned that you're like, I don't know
we had to burn these because they fulfilled the purpose, or they didn't fulfill the purpose. So the issue was, do we put it, so these 250,000 tokens. Do we put it into like bag number 1 or number 7 or like, you know, the cupboard number 17, or do we burn them? And then internally we had I have to say, fairly brief discussion where we said best is just to burn them and then they're gone. It was sort of an easy answer of what to do with tokens that didn't really have a fair use anymore. So we burned them and then they're gone and then that's it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, I want to say as we kind of wind down, having this conversation with you, I mean, it's not like you're, you know, you're not putting lipstick on it or whatever. You're telling us how it is. I feel like I had a very honest conversation. You're saying like, look, man, like, yeah, this started with a few guys and then we need VCs and we're inviting, you know, the community and retail in, and it's going to be a slower thing. That's how you grow a successful company. That seems to be what I'm getting from you, and it makes a lot of sense to me. And there's also, you know, I went through the tokenomics lightly, but there's other opportunities, and I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but, you know, you have larger percents going into like an ecosystem fund and, you know, community incentives and staking and liquidity mining and all these things. So it's not like everything is just going to, you know, borderless capital and Bakit, you know, just kidding. I don't know why I threw him.
No, you're totally right. Yeah, it's actually, yeah.
So, I mean, anyways, that's what I think about that. All right. Well, great. Is there anything else that we should talk about here? What do you think?
I was just going to say, because you were talking about we can do this or the retail people or the community can do this and this and that. Now you were talking Max and you're talking Pact. But actually what you can do too is what we actually do for a living, or what the Launchpad does at all, is to launch. You know? So what I would like to tell the community is please have ideas on projects, support projects that you know, bring them to us. We'll help them incubate. Maybe they're more mature, maybe they're less mature. Some of them come early and we can give an early feedback. Some come later. Sometimes it's better because a lot of stuff are already done. Sometimes later is not so good because some stuff is harder to fix. And that's what I'd love to tell the community. Build projects, bring us projects, support projects however you can, whether that's with coding or financial support or so. Bring them to us, and we hope to be able to launch these projects and build that ecosystem and build the Algorand ecosystem overall. That's the plan.
That sounds good. I think that right now is the right time to be, okay, what is your good idea? What is your good idea? You know, if you have a good idea out there, this is the time, because people are falling off, you know, people are going away, and there needs to be some, you know, some good projects will be born out of a bear market. I think that proves itself every time, right? Absolutely. The real project, the ones that actually stick through it. That's what we should all be looking at, whether it's NFTs or it's actual projects. Like, who is going to stick around? And clearly you guys were like, we're going to launch in this market however it goes. That's what we're going to do, because we're here for the long run. Am I projecting, or am I being too positive here? What do you think?
No, no, that's totally correct. So we will launch slower and fewer, because that's what the market is. And then we're preparing and we're watching and chaperoning and incubating the projects that come to us. And then when the markets will go up again and things will be easier, then we'll launch faster and more furiously. And in the meantime, we'll be a bit slower, but that's a most normal thing. We don't stop building. We just slow down with the launching a little bit. But nobody should stop building.
Right. And, you know, and, you know, people, it'd be like right now, you know, launching a SPAC or something. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing those special acquisitions. You just see them falling off and off and off. It's just a harder sell right now. So, you know, thanks for your patience, and thanks for kind of letting me try to work through this and make sure that hopefully everybody got the answers that they want. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to check in with you on a more regular basis if you'd like. I love, you know, as you guys are launching more and more projects, you know, feel free to reach out and, you know, come back on.
I'd love to be back on. Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Cooper, for having me. Yeah.
All right. There. Thank you, Nathan.